okay? No, you go and lay down for a little bit. Just for a little bit. Hello. First one in. Hello. Hello, hello. Good morning. Oh, George is in early too. Wow. Just so excited to see me. I'm just kidding. So today we're just going to carry on with what we're doing with the gloves. I had a couple questions. People said, are we going to fill them in? We're not going to fill them in because I made the pattern really dense, meaning that the lines are really close together. So it almost gives the illusion that they are filled in, but they're not. If you find that there's bigger spaces than you like, you can always use some less strands, which will give you a thinner line to fill those in. So for example, down here in my gloves, depending on how it looks, I'm not sure, we might have a little space here and a little space here. So we can fill that in as we go. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep going. So we left off at the cross stitch. I've just got a little bit of thread left. So I'm going to go ahead and go back this way and just keep stitching. Just keep going. You know, that's the vibe. You can also change up the stitches. So I saw a couple people didn't use the stitches that I necessarily showed yesterday. They used completely different ones. And of course you can do that. A couple of people asked, sent me a DM and was like, I've got an idea, but I'm just not sure. Am I allowed to do it? Of course you can. Go ahead and make up your own pattern if you want to. So yeah, I hope everyone is good. I also had a lot of questions about yesterday when I said I was hanging on by thread. And yeah, I just think not every day's good. You know what I mean? It's okay. And it's okay to have a lot of overwhelming things happen all at the same time. So if that's you, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, it'd be like that sometimes. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? So it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now remember, this is 3 strands. I know I always say it, but if you want to make the lines or the stitches thicker, then just use more strands. If you want to make them thinner, use less strands. I know it's some people think, duh, Tori. But if it's your very first time stitching, you might not realize it because sometimes, in cross stitch, I think they tend to use the same number of strands for everything. So some people, they don't necessarily know that you can use different strands all in the same pattern. So you can use 1 strand for something that's like an outline, and you can use 2 strands for something that's maybe a fill, and even 6 strands if you just want a really thick line or you don't feel like separating it, which is also okay. Okay. Let's see here. I'm doing my cross stitch, and then the next one should be the whipped back stitch, just like the one on top, because remember they mirror each other. So that will be good. What else is going on? I've got the whooping cough shot today. Ooh, I'm going to put my numbing cream on because, yes, I am a baby and I have no shame in that. I'm going to put the numbing cream on. No shame in that. I need what I need, guys. And then, yeah, I've written one pattern this morning for the advent calendar. And then hopefully before I leave, like after the Stitchalong, but then before I have to leave to get my shot, then I can write another one. And then I can pack those today. Oh, that's so exciting. I'm really thrilled. And then whilst I'm packing, I normally think about all the Christmas stuff I want to do because, of course, I can't just do one thing. So, yeah, Christmas. Christmas is coming. Like, there's way less than 100 days now. If you didn't know, now you know. Thank goodness for the numbing cream. For real. I don't know what it is. It's almost like it tricks my brain. Like, even though I know that they've done it. Do you know what I mean? Even though in my brain, I know. Oh, it looks like I've got a little loop here. Let's see. Nope, it's just going to live there. But if I can't feel it go in, then I'm like, oh, it's fine. It didn't happen. So, yeah, I use it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Emla Cream, and it's just like a topical numbing cream. I'm sure that you need to get it from your, like a pharmacist. But yeah, it works for me. I haven't fainted in a long time, which is good. Okay, so it's totally that end here that's loose. If you can't tell what I'm talking about, there was like a little knot here. So it's making my last stitch loose. So all I'm going to do is just snip that and tie a knot there. So if this happens to you and it's long enough for you to do that, I would suggest doing it, or you can stitch it into like your next stitches. Because what will happen is that it'll just always stay loose, you know? Let me turn it so I can... So yeah, I hope you guys are having a good week and that your Monday was good. The guy came to fix the ceiling yesterday, so we have drywall back in the hole. But as they cut, because I had to make the hole a little bit bigger to like fit it in to like where it had cracks and stuff, you know? And as they were drilling the hole, they didn't think to move all the stuff from the room out of the room, so there's just dust on everything. So yesterday I spent a lot of time having to like wipe everything down. And that's when I was like, hanging on by a thread here, guys. Like, why is it always something? Like, come on. Okay, what I might do here is I might do, let's keep the pattern. I was gonna say, I might do another whipped back stitch here, but I'm gonna keep the pattern because I feel like that'll be really nice. So if you don't remember, we did the whipped back stitch, then we're going to do sorry, I had to do a burp. We're going to do the laced back stitch, okay? That's nice of them when they can obviously see it's a nursery. I heard like the drilling and I was like, I hope they're not cutting a hole in the ceiling right now. And so I went up there and it was just like everywhere. I like opened the door and it was like a cloud of smoke, like of just dust. And I was like, do not just zen. Like zen it out. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Because otherwise is like the alternate thing is like burst into tears. I was like, I'm not doing that again. So let's just take a breath. It'll all be okay. Oh. But yeah, at least it's getting fixed. So there you go. I would have gone down and cried. Yeah, I was very, very close. As I was like, I opened the door and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? And they were like, oh yeah, well, we've done all the cutting now, so it's all done. And I was like, there's still dust everywhere. Like, eventually, a small child that's just come out of my body is going to sleep in here. Like, this is their room. This is their stuff. Like, come on. And they're like, oh, yeah. Well, at least we're done drilling. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Okay, well, you can help me move everything out then. Oh, it'll be fine. It's all fine. It's fine, guys. It's fine. So that's what I was talking about in my stories today, about it's okay to not have a good day, and it's okay to have multiple bad days in a row. It does get better. You know what I mean? Like, it does get better. So it's okay. I'd be like you better fix it. Yeah, I was just a bit like, am I the only one with a brain in this house? Like, what is going on here? Like, I cannot think for everyone collectively and grow a child at the same time, okay? And do my work. And feed everyone. And do the laundry. And, like, come on. I can't do it all. Like, I need some help here. This is your job. Like, your job is to do plastering and, like, not plastering, drywall, you know? So you should know that there's dust. Oh, well. It's over now, isn't it? Okay, so now we're doing the interlaced band, or Nem messaged me, and he said that it's also called the Pekingese, oh gosh, I've just lost it now. The Pekingese band, maybe. Or the double Pekingese stitch. But you can look that up as well and see if it's exactly what this looks like. The pictures that he showed me they looked exactly the same. So I have a feeling it's one of those situations where, like, some people call it this and some people call it that. So, but let me tell you, some people have already tagged me in their gloves and some people have already finished them, which, amazing. And they look so good. I know it is a little bit tricky to get the hang of it at first, but, like, I promise you can do it. I promise. Someone messaged and said, this looks really difficult. And I was like, it's not difficult, I promise. It's not. You can do it, guys. You can do it. Let's see how far I can get with this little stitch here. So I don't have to start with a half stitch. I can just go the full. I think I should still do a tiny little one there. So yeah, if you finish your gloves and you're like, actually, there's a lot of space, and I want to fill it in with something, you could always fill it in with a back stitch or another whipped back stitch, or you could do some, like, couching or something like that, which would also look really cute. And again, if you want a thinner line, then double Pekingese stitch or the herringbone ladder filling stitch. Ooh, I haven't heard of the herringbone ladder filling stitch. I haven't heard it called that, but I heard it called the interlaced band, which is what it says in the book, the embroidery stitches book that I got. And then also someone messaged to say that they have a book from, like, the 1960s, and it has that's what it's called in there too. So I'm going to add the herringbone ladder filling stitch to the list, because I like that. I like knowing a lot of different names for the same stitch, because sometimes it's just a little bit easier, you know? Now remember, we always start with the first stitch, the first full stitch. So since this one here is longer than the first one in the first row, we're going to start with that one. And this is where the weaving comes into play. So yeah, I feel like I've just talked about my life for the whole time. Jeez. Goodness gracious. So So yeah, I might show you couching at the very bottom down here because it looks like I have a bit more space down there. And I feel like it might be beneficial to people. Couching is super fun. Like I said, or like I was going to say, if you want a nice thin line, you can just use less strands. So which makes couching really fun because you're literally just like laying the thread on top and like doing little stitches to like pin it down. But you're like, why does less strands make couching more fun? That doesn't make any sense. I just really like embroidery. So I just feel like when you use a different technique, like even like less strands or variegated threads or anything like that, I'm like, oh, look how different it looks. I just really like embroidery, guys. Like a lot. Very nice, Tori. This looks great. Don't forget to do the little tiny one if you added that. If you added a little tiny one there. Because I did. And then that's what makes you a great teacher. Oh, thank you, Veronica. Like I feel like people think I got really excited about really stupid things when it comes to stitching. And like if I watch my own stories back, which I don't do often. But if I do watch my stories back, I'm always like, wow, I sound really enthusiastic because I'm like, this looks amazing. This is stunning. This is great. This is gorgeous. But like, I'm not just saying it to like wind you guys up. Like I'm genuinely like, oh my God, look how great they did. Look how amazing it looks. Like, oh, I love it so much. It's so fun. It's so fun to me. And like seeing other people succeed is like literally the best thing. Like the best thing ever. Like I told you guys before, whenever I share work in the Stitchalongs, Instagram always gets a little bit arsy with me. It gets a bit like, I don't know. But I don't care because I'm just going to keep sharing them. Okay, so we're going to slide them through here. I will say that these do take a longer time. So if you find that you're like, oh, I just don't have any patience for this, then of course you can choose a different stitch or save it for the weekend when maybe you have a little bit more time. I like stitching when I'm watching television as well. So if you remember, I'm pulling these a bit too much and you can tell because you can't see the, the ripple. But yeah, if you can remember the stitches, then I feel like the TV is a great little time to do the rest. I might just leave it actually, because I feel like if I do a little line there, then that will be a little bit too much. So let's make a knot and we'll go, let me see here. How much do I have left? Let's do an outline on this so that you know what it's like, because I don't know if I'll finish the whole glove in 20 minutes because it's 10:20 now. So for the outline of the glove, you can either decide to use a contrasting color. So if you wanted to find something that goes with gray, like maybe a dark blue would really make it like pop out, or like a deep red, something like that. Or you can just use the same color that you chose in the first place. Or you could go with like a darker gray That's only if you want to have like a contrasting, like to change the color, okay? So this is what I mean. Why is that pink there? Okay, so if you wanted to have a different color outline to the fill, okay? Actually, I might use this. I don't know why I keep saying okay, but this is really pretty. It looks really nice. So for the outline, oh, Jessie's seen a cat. She's run downstairs because she's like, oh, okay, kitty cat. For the outline, I'm going to do a whipped back stitch for that as well. If you do not like whipped back stitch and you think it's a bit too faffy, which is totally possible because like I said, with the whipped back stitch, you have to stitch it twice. You have to do the back stitch and then go around and whip it. So you could always do a stem stitch if you feel like, actually, I don't really want to stitch it twice. I really don't feel like it. So I'm going to do a little whipped back stitch around the whole outside, and we're going to keep these two areas separate. So we're going to do around here in a loop, and then you're going to go up here to the thumb and then around down like this, and then go back and whip it. So let's do that real quick, and then you can see what it looks like. And if you want to change the stitch, that's fine too. I know I keep saying it, but I feel like people, you say it one time and they're like, oh, you say that, but then when you see what I've done, you're going to get angry. I'm not. I promise you. I'm not going to mind. I promise. So if you've got a different idea, like if you want to do a split stitch, or even if you wanted to do stem stitch, I would stay away from a regular back stitch unless you have a very dark color like black, because you can see all the stitches. Let's start down here so that we have a really nice like beginning and ending point. And obviously the smaller you make your stitches, the more whipped it's going to look. And if you want to have a nice round corner here, you need to make your stitches smaller, at least for the corners. So hopefully that makes sense. Just like the stem stitch, if you really want to have a nice round area, just make a little bit smaller stitches there, because they can look very like that on the corner if you don't. But then after that, we can see how it looks. I actually might use couching somewhere else, because now that I've got it in my head, I feel like I really want to use it for something. There's so many stitches, you know, and you can use them in so many different ways. 3 strands, sorry, doing 2 things at once. Yep, I've used 3 strands for everything here. Now I will say, when picking your colors, if you want it to stand out, pick a color that's not the same tone as the other color that you've picked. And I showed that a little bit with like the pink and orange that we picked before. That's not pink and orange. But if you picked both of these colors, they're almost the same color, very close in tone, and they won't stand out, if you know what I mean. Even like these two, they are different, but they're almost the same tone. What I mean by tone is like lightness and darkness. So you kind of want to pick one that's like one that's really light and one that's really dark. And that way you'll be able to see a difference in them. Almost like if I picked brown in this, they're like the same level of darkness almost. So even though they're different colors, and you'd be able to see them, they kind of almost blend in together. Hope that makes sense. So it looks like I'll have some more homework to finish my other mitten. And I still have to finish the flower up there from before. So I've got like 2 bits of homework to do. I really pulled that too tight, but you can't even see the ripple. That's a bit sad. Okay, so now that we've, completed the loop, we're gonna go right back up and then whip it all, okay? Just like we did in the regular lines, except we're doing it in a circle. So you're gonna go underneath each stitch. Again, the whipped back stitch, you go the same way each time. So I like to go in to out because you have no stitches around for most of the area, and it's gonna be a really easy, quick and fast for you. Remember, you're going underneath the stitches, not through the stitches, and you're going on top of the fabric, not through the fabric. So we don't want to make it so that you're actually piercing the fabric or piercing the threads or splitting the threads. You just want to slide your needle up underneath. Okay. People have made some amazing gloves using different colors, bright colors, muted colors. I saw some Bernie Sanders gloves. Like, you guys are just incredible. Incroyable. Oops. Jessie's not happy that I didn't open the door so that she could go see that kitty cat. The other thing that I will advise is that if you get stuck using the pointy end to whip things, you can turn your needle around and use the eye of the needle instead, like this. Okay, and push it through that way. It never works for me because I always use my thumb to push the needle through. And whenever I do it this way, I always kind of forget that I've turned it around the other way and then impale myself. Okay. And don't be afraid to turn your hoop around and get the angle that works best for you. So sometimes working on a hoop stand is not amazing because it's kind of stuck here. You're stuck in the one spot. Whereas if it was off the hoop stand, I'd be turning this all over the place to get to where I want my stitches to go. So, and that would also make you guys nauseous. Okay, and then we're just gonna go right back down where we started. I like to go down the next stitch over so it continues with this circle kind of theme, and I'm gonna zoom it in and try and find that black. There we go. The black rock, so maybe you can see the actual stitches. So they're a bit twisty all the way around. So let's do this top one next. Oh, it took me 10 minutes to do that. Ridiculous. So what I can do here at the bottom is if I don't like that extra space, then I can add a little bit more, or I can just leave it. It's completely up to you what you feel like. Because like I said before, and like I say a lot, but what bothers me might not bother you. What bothers you might not bother me. So if you kind of think, oh, I definitely need to add this part, but she didn't do it, so I'm not going to. If it bothers you, change it. Because you're going to look at that for like the rest of the time that you have it. So if you put this on your wall, every time you walk by it, you're going to go, oh, I should have changed that. when actually you could just change it. You just change it now. If you're feeling a little bit iffy on whether you should change it or not, leave it a couple days. And if it still bothers you when you add more stuff, because sometimes it's just, that's the only thing you've got on there. You know what I mean? Like when we did day 1 or day 2, sometimes you look at it and you think, oh, that looks, I don't know about my color. I don't know if I should do it that way. I just don't know. But leave it a couple days, because sometimes when you add stuff around it, it looks better. And other times, if it still bothers you, can you stop licking, please? Because it doesn't sound nice. Psst. Stop. Miss lots of licks over there. Giving herself a little bath. Okay, now if you're going down to the thumb, and I like to go straight up through the stitches or find a spot that doesn't have any stitches. And what I mean straight up is don't go up on an angle like that. You want to go straight up if you're going to go through stitches, because when you pull it, you're going to actually pull those stitches apart. So if you have to go through, meaning like if you went down too far and make your stitch too long or whatever, for whatever reason, then just go straight up through and you should be fine. I'm definitely thinking my flowers from day 1 are too bright. Really? You could always tie it in with some bright colors in other places, because we do have like a flower bouquet, but then also like an autumnal leaf bouquet over here. So you could always do something with the little coffee cup and make that a bit jazzy, or the book, what's it called? Covers. Like the, you know what I mean? The inside cover, I guess, because this is the outside cover. Or one of these blankets. They have neon orange petals. Add a little bit of like a rusty orange to it, maybe. And that might tone it down a bit. So if you had like this, you could always add like this color to the middle. Like kind of like this, but like just 1 through each one, or 2 or 3 through each one. And that might tone it down a little bit, because this on its own is like, whoa. But when you add another color to it, it might kind of soften the look a little bit. And you could always try something really simple like that before taking all of it out. I will try, thanks. But again, if it's something that you just keep looking at and you're like, nope, don't like that, then just take it out, because otherwise you're just going to keep looking at it and being like, gosh, those are bright. Wow, that really bothers me. Wow, why did I do that? And I'm not going to say it's going to ruin it for you, but it'll make it so that you're not 100% happy. And it's such a shame to like spend 3 whole weeks stitching something, albeit a little bit every day, okay? And then in the end, you're like, I hate it. Which has happened to me a lot of times. But sometimes you can get away with just changing a little part of it. And you're like, okay, that's not so bad. That works a little bit better. And sometimes when I'll be like working in the morning, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have 3 minutes until the stitch along. I need to pick a color. And I'll pick any color. You know, I'll just like, oh, I'll just use this one. And then I get about 2 stitches in and I'm like, no, I can't do it. Like, it hasn't happened on this one yet. This one, I really wanted to use that cream, but it's just too close to the color of my fabric. So, and you guys couldn't see the stitches. So I ended up changing it. But there's been other stitch-alongs where I've been like, oh, I'll just pick one. It's fine. And I'll get like 3 or 4 stitches in and be like, no, that looks awful. I'm going to hate it if I do that. Okay, so remember, make sure that you have enough thread to do your whipping for your whipped backstitch before you start whipping, because otherwise you're gonna have to cut your thread and add a new piece in the middle. And it's not that it's impossible, it's just that it's a ball ache, isn't it? When you have to sit there and be like, oh, now I have to get new thread. Oh, now I have to tie it. Remember, I like to go into out. And it's also helpful if you can put your finger underneath like this. See where my finger is? And lift up the area where you're going under so that you don't snag any of the other stitches. I also push my needle down a little bit. See? So I lift this up and then push this down. Should have taken my own advice because I feel like I'm not going to have enough. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If you do that a lot, though, make sure that you go ahead and tighten your hoop when you're finished, because sometimes the more that you push on your fabric, what you're doing is you're making it looser here. So if you do, like me, do one mitten and then do the whipped part, and then push all that time, and then you go over here and do this one, when you take it out, you might have some gaps or some loose thread or loose fabric, and your threads won't lay flat. So just have a think about that when you're doing it. I like to tighten my hoop before each stitching session, or if I know I've been pulling really hard. So the more strands you have, the more you might have to pull. So for here, sorry, I go all the way around, and then the point where it goes down into this part, I'm gonna stop it right there and then come right back up at the very end, so I can still whip this part around. So let's go sideways again. I really thought I could do all of this in 40 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. Like all of the gloves. I thought all these gloves would be done by today. Remember, we're not snagging any stitches here. Make sure you're going underneath them, especially over this little bit where the stitches are just looped around. They're just woven around in there. So they're not actually like held down by anything. Okay. Here we go. We're almost finished. Okay, if I can, I might go live again later today. I'll let you know though, for people in the States who would like to have a little live, because I do still have a lot of work to do, and I'd rather have a little chat with you guys about it. So we'll see. We'll see how bad my arm hurts. Hopefully it won't be too bad though. I'm hoping, numbing cream, look away, eat before you go, have a sweet in your mouth so that you're like distracted. Do you know what I mean? I know all the tips. Okay, guys, I know them all. Let's zoom out and see what it looks like zoomed out. There we go. I think it's gonna look really, really nice. Like genuinely, I'm happy with that. I think it looks so good. If you don't like seeing the fabric behind, a couple things you could do. Obviously, you can fill in with more stitches. You could even do just long, straight stitches in between each one. You will lose some of the detail of the glove, meaning like you won't see that individual stitches, but that's okay. Like, it's fine. You could also go back with just a lighter color, like lighter than the color that you have chosen for your stitches, and fill it in, even just a little bit, like a straight stitch on either side, every once in a while. That can be quite effective as well. But yeah, if you've got any questions at all, please send me a message, okay? I always try to be super available, especially during the stitch-alongs. There's also going to be something really fun and free coming up this week. So hopefully we can announce it today, but I'm not quite sure. I have to check. So keep an eye on that. That's all I can say. It's a stitch-along. So yeah, that'll be fun. And yeah, I can't wait to see your mittens. Be sure to tag me at the Barmy Fox and use the hashtag the Barmy Fox SAL. That's Stitch Along. Okay? So enjoy, and I'll speak with you tomorrow. All right? Bye.